In Chapter 11, we read about tort law. Tort law provides an injured party the right to bring a lawsuit against another to recover compensation for injuries. Often, tort law is referred to as personal injury. There are a variety of damages that are available, from compensatory to nominal to punitive, and there are various classifications available for tort law: intentional, negligent, or strict liability, which is an inherently dangerous activity. The chapter goes on to talk about intentional torts against persons. For instance, assault and battery. Assault is the intentional placing of a person in fear or apprehension of immediate offensive bodily contact, and battery is the intentional, unwanted, and offensive bodily contact. So, and typically, the book also goes into what defenses can be utilized regarding specific torts. So, in regards to assault and battery, the defense to battery is self-defense, defense of another, or defense of property. It continues to talk about defamation, which I feel in today's society there's probably a lot of. That is the intentional publication, communication to a third party of a false statement that's harmful to a plaintiff's reputation. For instance, slander is the spoken defamatory statement, and libel is the publication of defamation statement in permanent form. I do feel that there are probably often situations where people are apt to bring lawsuits for defamation of character. It's probably one of the most common torts that we hear about. Again, the book continues to talk about other types of torts regarding privacy, the false information, intentional infliction of emotional distress, which was also incorporated in our homework assignment. And then it goes on to talk about torts against property, like the entering of the land of another or causing an object to be placed on the land of another without the landowner's permission, trespassing, conversion, which is more of an extreme wrong, which is the intentional permanent removal of property from the rightful owner's possession and control. It also talks about intentional torts against economic interests, disparagement, and misappropriation, unfair competition. One of the last sections within this chapter regarding torts is in regards to negligence, which is the failure to live up to the standard of care that a reasonable person would meet to protect others from an unreasonable risk of harm. And the book talks about the elements required to prove negligence, which include duty, breach of duty, causation, and damage. Again, I feel like the negligence component is a component that we probably hear much about in regards to today's society. And I think, as far as businesses are concerned, it's very important to be aware of all of the liability that is out there for businesses regarding negligence and defamation, and a variety of the other things that were touched on in this chapter. It is very important that businesses know exactly what their limitations are and what things can and cannot be said, what information could put the business at risk, and be aware of those situations. In chapter 12, we learn about product and service liability law. And certainly this is an area that businesses need to be most conscious of, from making sure that products that are being sold are done so in an appropriate manner, to making sure that there is the privity information. So for instance, regarding negligence and failure to warn in regards to products, whether those products are something that could harm somebody else, making sure that there are adequate warnings by the manufacturer on the products that are being sold. And as the book says, I think that the most common forms of negligence are the failure to warn and the provision for inadequate warning. And I think in some ways our society has gotten a little bit crazy in this regard, that we can bring lawsuits and hold people responsible for not providing enough warning about the dangers of, say, eating fast food, or the dangers of utilizing certain tools. So I think that it's very important for businesses to be aware of this, especially businesses that are selling goods and products that may be considered dangerous or maybe used in alternative ways and then become dangerous. So it really does leave a business very liable to all sorts of lawsuits and that type of thing. It's important that businesses understand the warranties, or the implied warranty or expressed warranties that are being communicated with regards to the services or products that they are selling. So, and then another area that the book talked about was in regards to service liability, and it specifically here, we learn about malpractice, which can be brought against a variety of professions, from doctors, lawyers, to accountants, and making sure that even those in, say, an accounting firm have certain liabilities for their clients, and that they are following the required protocols for their particular industry. And that can be said for a number of industries as well. Accountancy was just specifically pulled out in the book as a point of reference. So I think that it is very important that as we consider the business world and consider the liabilities that come along with the business, that these are areas that we really look into and really seek information on. So one of the things that some of this writing really brought up to me, or reading brought up to me, was the specific liabilities that businesses face from making sure that their sidewalks are cleaned when there's snow and ice, and the inherent danger that could bring to somebody walking into their business, and thus liability on perhaps the part of the business owner, to being sure that you're following specific protocols for your required profession, and that venturing from those specific protocols could put you in a libel situation. So again, this is all very important information, and it's really a lot of information to take in for those who are looking ahead into the business world.